Welcome to Edquity. Edquity can help students and families identify the best school from a financial standpoint for them and put together a granular financial plan that will ensure both short and long-term college success. Edquity can create a recommended list of schools that are curated for students on a personal basis that optimize for factors like cost and benefit. They can allow students to enter in and create a college list and then compare and identify the financial fit of each of these schools. It can help seniors enter in, compare, evaluate, and understand their very complicated financial aid awards. And finally, Edquity can automate the development of a personalized financial plan for college success that include factors like individual needs and preferences, projected work hours at school, and the actual geographic cost of living of the different schools that students may be evaluating. If students want to get recommendations, they need only enter in a few pieces of personal, demographic, financial, which includes just basic income range level information, as well as what families may be able to contribute every year. And finally, academic information, including desired area of study, GPA, which can be expressed in a 4.0 or 100-point scale. And finally, the standardized test a student may have taken, which can include the SAT, ACT, PSAT, or if a student is yet to take a test, they can simply indicate they've not yet taken a standardized test. With just that information, Edquity offers a granular list of personalized schools that optimize for factors like cost-benefit. First, these schools are ordered based on the Edquity score, which is a blended financial health rating that include factors like personalized projected debt, the graduation rate, the availability of anti-poverty financial supports at school, projected earnings, social mobility, the unemployment rate, and the percentage of students who are able to repay their debt. Edquity also helps students understand what the projected lifetime gain of going to any individual school may be. Many say that college is worth $1 million, but Edquity shows how each school may vary in terms of projected incremental lifetime earnings versus a high school graduate, inclusive of all the costs and debt that students may incur. Students can actually directly compare schools side by side in the Edquity platform, and they can filter schools based on geographic location, distance, and degree type. Students can see their recommended schools in terms of academic match, safety, and reach schools. And if they click on an individual school, they can actually see the projected total debt, monthly loan repayment, and debt to income ratio for them, the graduation rate of the school, and the employment characteristics that are worth noting. Where relevant, Edquity also makes note of certain factors like whether or not the school offers full financial aid, as well as whether or not the school is test optional. Students can cycle through the right arrow key and simply see how these different schools may compare around these different factors. Students can also do this for schools of all different types of academic fit. If a student doesn't see a school that they might be interested in, they can type it in and see what that school may amount to in terms of cost benefit. In this case, Harvard doesn't appear, despite its great Edquity score, because the student is unlikely to get in from an academic standpoint. Once a student has hit the heart button on certain schools, they can go in and see that they've created a My Colleges list. Once they've done this, if they go to the budget section, students can actually build their own granular budget. They can go through a series of 20 questions that tease out things like how much they plan on spending on furnishing their dorm or apartment, where the answers are qualitative and students are actually teasing out the lifestyle that may be desired for them. They can also select who's paying for expenses, which will allow them to create a budget not just for themselves, but also for mom and dad. Students can also select a pre-populated consumption basket, where if I select thrifty, Edquity automatically generates a thrifty consumption basket for each of the geographic costs of living that students have indicated. The goal of the budgeting section is to ensure that students have a plan in place that will provide for a positive cash flow, ensuring that students aren't likely to see their academic performance due to the work that they're going to take on, and make sure that their debt-to-income ratio will be sustainable coming out of school. You can see that each of these schools has a different cash flow based on the different geographic cost of living of each of these schools. If I want to create a budget for Baruch College, I can see what my thrifty budget looks like in terms of my pre-college budget or my summer before I matriculate. And I can go in and make some changes if I want. Like, instead of not needing a laptop, I may want to get a Chromebook, and I may say that my parents will split the cost with me. This will change my overarching savings deficit, and I cannot advance until this is positive. One of the ways I could make this positive is I could choose to live with my family, which on its own would mean that the student is positive. The student can also factor in earnings from a summer job, or if they have any money saved up, they can enter this in as well, which will make this more positive. Once the student is advanced, again, Edquity ensures that the student is trying to optimize for positive cash flow, sustainable work hours, and total loans. Students can go through and edit different expense items here. For instance, a student could go in and rather than saying they're not going to drink coffee, indicate that they'll drink it several times a week. However, if students aren't going to change any other costs, they can make changes to their work. If a student were to do something like this, Edquity has responsive logic that flags the risks associated with working 35 hours a week. In this case, this could cause a student to see their academic performance drop, which could lead to financial aid being restricted. Therefore, Edquity tries to orient the student to ensure that they're working only something like 15 hours a week. If the student selects this, they need not even revert to borrowing and actually has a sustainable budget in place that would allow them to see both post and in-college success. Students would want to do this for every school that they're looking at, and once they've been accepted, students can actually enter in their financial aid. If the student hits Add Award, they can actually go in and step-by-step enter in their cost of attendance, their free money, their work options, and their loan options, where Edquity has hover over tooltips to orient the student around terms that may be confusing. The problem with financial aid awards, unfortunately, is that financial aid is not listed in a homogeneous way. Therefore, if there are many different fees that are listed on an award letter, Edquity allows the student to break those out. And similarly, if room and board are aggregated or disaggregated, Edquity allows the student to customize the award letter to make sure that what's in the Edquity platform matches what's on the paper. Colleges are also inconsistent in how they list indirect costs. And Edquity allows the student to select those costs that are actually listed out on their award letter and enter in only those costs that will be relevant to them, again, as listed by their financial aid award. Edquity next orients the student around free money, which it clearly defines. If the student has any of these terms, Edquity allows the student to enter in whatever's on their financial aid award letter and has actually hard-coded in different ways the same financial aid can be represented so that no matter what the student enters in, this will render properly in the Edquity platform and categorize it correctly. Edquity then helps students understand the implications of programs like work study, as well as some of the nuances therein. And finally, Edquity creates a visual hierarchy of loans in order of most favorable federal aid to least favorable federal aid. It starts with the federal direct subsidized loan. It then moves to the unsubsidized loan. And finally, students can enter in direct plus loans or parent loans. And voila, this Edquity creates a clean, organized financial aid award letter so the student has apples to compare. Next, Edquity actually also shows the net price so that students understand what they're actually on the hook for. And finally, Edquity allows the student to easily go through an exercise where they can identify how they're going to finance their education. If they have outside parental support, they can enter it in here. Students can also draw down from their work study, and here the student has a surplus, meaning they need not revert to any other financing options. If the student didn't have a surplus, they could revert to any loan that's available to them, including private loans, which are down here at the bottom of the tool. What's critical, however, is that students need to make sure that their budget is sustainable within the context of the indirect costs that they identified. And lo and behold, this wouldn't be enough. However, if the student added a few extra work hours, with 18 hours of work a week, the student would have a viable financial plan for Baruch College. They can then sort their schools with award letter and thus